Hey everyone, welcome to Moment of Clarity. I'm Lee Camp, the most censored comedian in America. Thanks for joining me here. We got a ton of stories to get to. I know I start every show like that, but it seems I'm never lying. I'm never once lied to you. You got Trump's idling plane getting more TV coverage, mainstream media TV coverage, than Biden cutting healthcare to 15 million Americans, than the climate crisis, than the end to the war in Yemen. All of that combined, less coverage than Trump's empty plane. I don't know if it's actually empty, but it was sitting there. Trump's idling plane sitting on a tarmac. I assume Trump was inside. But I'll get to that story. I'll get to more countries. We're watching the petrodollar collapse in real time. More countries are going outside of the petrodollar. I'll reveal which ones those are. We got the end to the war in Yemen, which I just mentioned. That is huge. It is still, there's still some caveats to that, but it is seeming likely. We got leaked documents. Pentagon and Ukraine leaked documents leaking online in like social media chats. That's another huge story, which our empire does not like you knowing about. MSNBC tried to tar and feather Matt Taibbi for daring to reveal that Twitter is essentially an arm of the fucking intelligence agencies, and it backfired in a hilarious way. It was thrown back in their faces, and you got it. Anytime something's thrown in those fucking rich mainstream media, idiot human beings' faces. Anytime it's thrown back in their faces, it's a beautiful time. It's a good time to be alive. These are revolutionary times, and every revolution should have joy, and the joy is watching MSNBC look like fucking fools. I mean, all of them, not all the mainstream media looking like fools, but this one happens to be MSNBC. So in that joy, we will have the less joy, the joyless news coverage, or my coverage of how the world's oceans, the surface temperature is headed off the charts during this climate crisis. We have the Vatican changing their stance on a pivotal view of the world, which has allowed the creation of empires and the genocides of so many people. I'll get into that. I'll get into Israel's attacks on Gaza, on Lebanon, on Al-Aqsa. Hopefully I'll say it better than that as we continue on. Protesters flood BlackRock's offices. In case you have not seen my video on BlackRock and just how powerful they are, I will talk about that, and we'll talk a little bit about the anti-democratic expelling of two black legislators from the Tennessee State House, but also what your mainstream media doesn't want to say about it. And then I will also bring you the new episode of The Most Censored News about who exactly is buying up, stealing all the fresh water across America. All of that's coming to you in this episode. So please share it. Share it. Hit the thumbs up. Hit the like. Hit the subscribe. Do all of that good stuff. And thanks for being here. By the way, if it's working correctly, this should be live streaming at leecamp.net, my locals page as well now. They have just recently allowed that ability. So hopefully that's working as well. How you guys doing? I put on deodorant for this. I want you to know that. That's how much I care about you, okay? And it wasn't that I stink so bad that I thought it would come through the screen, although there's been times in the past I was pretty certain. I was like, oh, I realize it's screens, but they're going to smell this. But no, it just, I felt like you'd know. I knew, and I felt like you'd know if I knew. So, but it really, it's just a matter of respect. I respect you guys so much. I put on deodorant for this. All right, let's get into it. Let's get into Trump's idling plane. Literally sitting on the tarmac, got more media coverage this past week than Biden cutting healthcare for 15 million people. And I don't want to. I don't want to say it's only Biden cutting that healthcare. Yes, it is him cutting that healthcare, but pretty much all of Congress agrees with that stance of cutting healthcare to 15 million people. There's a small segment that may have spoken out about it, but for the most part, they're all standing with Biden in cutting the healthcare of 15 million people across America. And of course, as I said in the last live stream, here's something we can just kind of say up top. Everyone should get healthcare. Sorry, if I just blew out your speakers, I apologize for that as well. I always apologize for destroying your speakers. But yeah, they literally, for those of you who weren't watching, and I was not watching, I'm proud to say I did not see this. But Fairness in Action in reporting, they do great work on these type of things, and they add up the time and report on the bullshit of our mainstream media. So they say last spring, the Biden administration and the Democratic House approved a policy that would kick 15 million people off of Medicaid. Now, that Medicaid coverage was extended during the pandemic, and now they're ending the pandemic. They're deciding the pandemic is over. So they're kicking all of those people off of healthcare in a country that should just have healthcare. That should just be a thing. Like, you don't need to get into a debate of like, well, technically we're still in the pandemic. Technically, fuck all of that. Everyone should just have healthcare. It's one of the richest countries in the world. Even with the petrodollar collapsing, it's still one of the richest countries in the world. Everyone should just have healthcare. And here you have these, so-called liberals who so-called support healthcare, cutting 15 million people off their healthcare. Let's see. Co-host of Media Criticism, Adam Johnson analyzed the coverage in an article. He said, none of the agenda-setting Sunday morning shows, so those are the biggest mainstream media shows in many ways, NBC's Meet the Press, CBS's Face the Nation, ABC's This Week, mentioned the expiration of Medicaid coverage for the poorest, most vulnerable Americans. There was a 2-minute segment on MSNBC, a minute and a half on ABC, very little coverage. However, where did it? I thought it gives the amount of coverage of Trump's plane. Oh, here we go. Media Matters found that over an hour and a half period before Trump's arraignment, CNN aired 48 straight minutes of Trump's plane idling and the motorcade, along with shots of Trump Tower and Mar-a-Lago. MSNBC aired 66 minutes of similar footage. As Media Matters noted, this kind of coverage is similar to when Trump was running for office and they would air his empty podium for hours. Hours. I do remember seeing that. I legit saw that. I don't know if you guys remember this. In the lead up to the election, they would give Trump so much free coverage because they have two terms. They have like earned media coverage and basically free or unearned media coverage. So this is, and paid media coverage. This is just given to him, and they would just show his podium, which had a number to text to donate to Trump. Empty podium just saying, here's how to donate. I mean, imagine if it wasn't a podium, just a sign on CNN that said, here's how to donate to Trump. And for those of you who are new to my live streams or what I do, then I will repeat that I don't support either of these bullshit corporate fucking villainous billionaire candidates, presidencies, parties, any of them. They're two cheeks of the same backside, as George Galloway says. There's no reason to support any of these goons, any of these sociopaths, any of these parasites that are sucking off of average and middle class Americans. Screw them all. But I do find it hilarious when you're mainstream media, which spent years going after Trump, saying he shouldn't be president, saying he's horrific, he's the worst, all this shit. CNN, MSNBC, the rest, NBC, ABC, and then of course you have the semi-exception of Fox News being the all-in for Trump gang. So either way, they're supporting one of these two corrupt parties. They got Trump elected. Our mainstream media, including the quote-unquote liberal side of it, got Trump elected by giving him endless coverage. The numbers were something when they calculated them later. Trump got something like 16 times as much coverage as Bernie Sanders during the primaries when Bernie was still in the race, and 10 times as much as Hillary Clinton after the primaries when it was just him versus Hillary. So Trump got 10 times. It doesn't matter whether it's negative or not. Trump has gone his whole career based on all coverage is good coverage. That doesn't mean it doesn't anger him to hear bad coverage, but he knows that anybody talking about him is good because it means people are talking about him. And so sure enough, he gets elected. And who's responsible? The fucking mainstream media. If you want to blame someone, point at them. And here they are doing it again. And so I posed the question to you. I posted it in the chat. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I legit don't know the answer, but and I also put it on my Twitter at Lee Camp. The question is, the fact that our mainstream media showed this idling plane for more time than any politician has gotten coverage in the past week, than climate crisis, than the end of the war in Yemen, than of course the petrodollar. They can't even say the word petrodollar. Can't say the word capitalism. Can't barely say the word climate crisis. Is the fact that this plane got so much coverage. Does that mean Trump will win this coming election? And I legit don't know the answer. I would say that you're seeing a rift in the ruling elite. They're trying to make it impossible for Trump to run. But even if Trump were to get convicted of this hush money thing, unless he's in prison, and even if he were in prison, I think you could still run for office. If you're a felon, you can run for office in the United States, so he can keep running. So this shit show does not look like it would stop him from running for office. Anyway, so I'm wondering, do you think this means? And by the way, the mainstream media, which had lost a ton of their ratings, especially on the liberal side of things, the MSNBC, CNN, their ratings have crashed, cut by almost half since Trump left office. They loved this. And their ratings was a bonanza during this plane sitting on the tarmac. And it seems that they're going to do all this shit again. Now, I did see someone asked, yes, do please hit the like button. Someone else said that. Someone asked, do I think the presidency matters? And in many ways, no. I've said this again and again, that the foreign policy essentially remains the same. The racist policies across the country remain the same. The anti-immigrant, the xenophobic, the pro-capitalist, the exploitation of the working class, the continued class war. Let's be honest, we are in a class war. It's just that it's done mostly by the, or really 100% by the ruling elite against everyone who's not the ruling class. And that class war has been going on for years and years and continues. Trillions of dollars have been siphoned from the bottom 50% of this country and put into the hands of the richest Americans across this country. And that's happening, of course, across the world in many ways. But the U.S. is further down that path, and the gravity of capitalism as the spinning at the bottom of the toilet bowl gets faster and faster and faster before we're sucked into the black hole. To mix my metaphors, but I really think they should be mixed in that regard right there. So yes, in many ways, the presidency does not matter. There are some small ways it matters, and I think those are worth talking about at times. Really, what matters more than the president would be if they actually put the bully pulpit, so to speak, to use for good, for change. If any of them started talking about, even if it was just the slighted, just started, hey, you should care about immigrants. Hey, we shouldn't hate other countries. Of course, then they'll end up, with a nice scheduled meeting for a bullet through their head. For example, the power of JFK's words when he made the switch to understand that Russia, the Soviet Union at the time, was not our enemy. And he gave that speech at American University where he said, so the Soviet Union is not our enemy. And he talked about the 27 million Russians that died in World War II and how pivotal they were in the defeating of the Nazis. The defeat of the Nazis, and that was the speech he gave. A few months later, he was dead. because those words matter, because they are important. And to me, that would be far more important than who the actual president is. You know, if any of them were to give these speeches, a lot of people like to say, "Oh, Obama was great. He just he couldn't achieve that much because he had Congress against him." Well, first of all, he had Congress with him on some of the time he was in office, but besides that, I look to the actual efforts outside of just what is going on in Congress. Like, you saw Trump's actual efforts outside of Congress. Trump achieved a lot outside of Congress, right? He banned Muslims from coming into the country for a while. He dropped the largest, he told the Pentagon to drop the largest non-nuclear bomb that had ever been dropped on Afghanistan, and killing God knows how many civilians. He assassinated Iran's top general, despite the fact we are technically not at war with them at all. Let's see another country assassinate a country's top general without being at war with them and see how well that goes over. Anyway, you saw a lot of what he stood for outside of just Congress. And if to give one example, if Obama were to day after day after day have given speeches while president about how we are the largest prison state in the world, now we're top 5. I think some countries have passed us, maybe per capita. Per number. Per capita, I think we're still winning. But anyway, winning. But if he were to give speeches about being the largest prison state in the world every day, or not even every day, just regularly, it would have changed everything in this country, because all of a sudden people would care about it. The mainstream media would have to talk about it. It would have completely changed the way this country is policed, the human rights abuses that this country is responsible for on a daily basis. And that would be just speaking. Just speaking. That wouldn't even be the things that are in his power. Okay, I have about 15 stories to get through, and I spent too long on this one. So let's move on. While our mainstream media was talking about Trump's idling plane and nothing else, China continues to help countries to stand up and get outside the petrodollar. And the latest country to do that is the first China UAE gas deal in yuan, the Chinese currency, a new blow to dollar dominance. On March 28th, the Shanghai Petroleum National Gas Exchange, the National Gas Exchange, made history by announcing the first ever deal on importing 65,000 tons of liquefied natural gas from UAE, United Arab Emirates, settled in Chinese yuan currency. China National Offshore Oil Company, and which you can pronounce the acronym CNOOC, which I assume is what they say, and French Total Energies finalized the transaction, and Total Energies confirmed that, France was involved. The U.S. ain't gonna like that. The LNG imported was from the Persian Gulf state. China's Global Times, in a report that followed the following day, cited the chairman as saying a meaningful attempt to promote multi-currency pricing, multipolar world, settlement and cross-border payments in international LNG trading. It also provides a new channel for international players to participate in the Chinese market, helping to build a new pattern of dual circulation in China. The yuan settlement is a major event in China's market-oriented oil and gas reform, which will help promote the docking of international and domestic markets. And again, I won't go through all the things that I repeat too often, but in many live streams recently, I've been talking about the collapsing of the petrodollar. The U.S. power, America's power, is based on the petrodollar. We will never see any action on climate crisis, any real substantive action. I don't mean signing the little Paris Accord, which literally means fuck all. Yeah, look how much change we've had since the Paris Accord was signed. Wow. Every country stopped using petrol, stopped using fossil fuels the moment they signed that thing. No, it's meaningless. I'm talking about substantive, meaningful change. We won't see any of that until the petrodollar dies a horrible, gasping death where it's like, help me. It's all that. We're going to need all of that. The petrodollar has to die in order for us to get off the petro part of the petrodollar. Um, and more on the climate crisis coming up in this broadcast. But and so China is helping countries to stand up and get outside of it. And UAE is a major so-called ally of the United States, right? So this has got to be upsetting to our empire. This deal represents a departure from the decades-long practice of conducting global oil sales exclusively in U.S. dollars. A prominent economist who spoke to the Cradle speculated that the French either resorted to the yuan due to the acute shortage of Russian gas supplies. I wonder why that is. Why is there a shortage of Russian gas supplies to Europe? Oh, could it be that the U.S. empire totally blew that shit up, literally blew up the Nord Stream pipeline, and forced the European states back into a vassal situation where they're just bent over licking our boots, and France is now struggling with that? Could that be it? The deal came as a surprise, as French President Emmanuel Macron typically does not take such steps without the approval of the U.S. As for the UAE, the move is part of a larger trend of Persian Gulf countries opening up to China in the aftermath of the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan and the Biden administration's shift in regional policies. This is a major step towards a multipolar world. And, you know, it's not like I like to see U.S. currency. Being someone in the U.S., it's not like I like to see U.S. currency having trouble, except for the fact of what that currency is responsible for. It is responsible for empire. It is responsible for the destruction of this planet. It is responsible for ongoing wars. 6 million dead in the wars on terror. You don't hear that number repeated enough. 6 million dead, according to the Cost of War Project out of Brown University. 6 million people, almost all of them innocent, dead from our wars on terror. That is made possible, not just made possible by the petrodollar, but that is because of the petrodollar. We were defending the petrodollar. We were going after mostly countries that stepped outside the petrodollar. So that is why those 6 million people will never see another day. And, you know, when you're responsible for that much killing and destruction, it might make, my car payment a little more difficult, but I'm willing to take that sacrifice. So this isn't, unfortunately, this isn't, for those of us in the United States who are not the ruling elite, this isn't about us. All right. This is about, it's also about a little bit about us, but it's mainly about, we need a multipolar world. We need countries to have sovereignty because we need the various peoples of the world to work together. We need a revolution of cooperation, a revolution of friendship, for lack of a better word, a revolution of beyond xenophobia, of beyond acting like everybody is their nation state. We need a revolution of all of those things, and none of that will happen until the petrodollar goes the way of Fred Sanford on Sanford and Sons. I'm coming to greet you, Helen. I'm coming. Is that what he used to say? God. I'm dating myself, but I'm actually dating myself older than I am, because the only reason I even know what happened on Sanford and Sons is because it was on rerun like 10 years after it went off the air, and I used to see the reruns in the 80s. Anyway. But for those of you who don't know of Red Fox and Sanford and Sons, you are missing out. Was it Elizabeth? Did I say Helen? I'm coming, Elizabeth. Thank you for the correction. That is the most important correction I think I've ever gotten on this live stream. I said Helen. It was Elizabeth. Coming to greet you, Elizabeth. Oh, the day the petrodollar screams. I guess it'll be screaming, I'm coming to greet you, other dead currencies. I'm coming to greet you, Prussian francs. I'm coming. I'm coming. Roman ducats or whatever. I don't know I don't know current. I don't know dead currencies. Sorry. I'm coming to join you, Prussian francs. All right. But China's not just involved in that. China also has been creating peace with countries around the world, which is infuriating. There is nothing more infuriating to the U.S. empire than if one of our so-called enemies, which why are they an enemy? But so-called enemies, runs around the world creating peace in countries we have worked so hard to create war in. God, there's something with it. So we put so much time and effort, so many man hours and woman hours into making war, and then they're running around creating peace between Saudi Arabia and Iran, creating peace now in Yemen. Here is the story on Yemen. To help in the Yemen war, all China had to do was be reasonable. And that's a bit of a confusing title. It sounds like it's a dig at China. Why weren't they reasonable until now? But no, and by the way, I hate this writer, but, and you know, speaks to his dumb headline. It's a confusing headline. He's saying that the U.S. is not reasonable and all China had to do was be reasonable. And they were able to create peace in Yemen. With Joe Biden nowhere to be found, China's diplomacy set a stage for Saudi concessions and ceasefire talks. And again, this is a little bit this is kind of controlled opposition. This is a little bit of the wording sounds kind of edgy for mainstream media. Like mainstream media would never say something like that. However, would never say, all China had to do was be reasonable, etc. However, the fact that Biden is nowhere to be seen sounds like, it wasn't on Biden's plate, right? Every day they put his little lobster bib on him because he does drool a lot at this stage in life. And they put a little lobster bib on him and they serve him his plate that has the things he's supposed to pay attention to that day. And let's be honest, it's not him paying attention to it. It's a fucking 47-year-old sociopath sitting there with a fucking smartphone that Joe Biden doesn't even know how to turn on. That should make the decisions. But still, is Biden, they give him a little plate and they're acting like, The Intercept is acting like he just wasn't paying attention to Yemen and Saudi Arabia. That's not it at all. It's that, and again, this comes back to the petrodollar. The petrodollar deal is with Saudi Arabia. They sell stuff in oil, sell stuff in dollars, and we give them all of our military protection. Now you are seeing a beginning of a rift between that agreement. And because the U.S. is weakening, they're not so scared of us anymore, at least our military. And they are now stepping outside of what the U.S. wants to some degree. And for all this time, we have been endorsing, helping the war in Yemen. We have been arming it. We have given data to Saudi Arabia. We have helped stop imports of things like medicine and food into Yemen, in order to help Saudi Arabia in this complete destruction of Yemen. I mean, there's an easy argument to be made that this is a genocide that's going on in Yemen. But it's not that we weren't there. It's not that we weren't paying attention to it. It's that we were actively a part of keeping it going, of doing it, of perpetrating it. Anyway, so I think that's a bit of a misstatement that Biden just wasn't paying attention. What's startling here is the apparent role of China and complete absence of the U.S. and President Joe Biden in the deal-making. Biden promised to end the war in Yemen 2 years into his presidency. China may have delivered on that promise. I love that. That's from the executive vice president of the Quincy Institute for Responsible Statecraft. Decades of militarized American foreign policy in the Middle East have enabled China to play the role of peacemaker while Washington is stuck and unable to offer much more than arms deals and increasingly unconvincing security assurances. Yeah, because every time the U.S. says we'll promise we'll do this or that, we always break all our promises. So why the hell, even for our so-called allies, why the hell would you believe anything the U.S. says? Why would you be like, they promised they're going to protect me? I mean, right now, Zelensky is listening to U.S. promises. Well, the U.S. said they got my back on this. Oh, yeah, do they? Do they, Zelensky? I think they do until they don't. So you might want to watch that. There's no reason to ever believe anything we say. Okay, so, and I also love the idea that Biden promised to end the war in Yemen, did nothing about it, and now China has ended the war in Yemen. So China is delivering on Biden's presidential campaign promises. which breaking news, China also said they're going to end all student debt for Americans. They're going to give us all health care. They're going to give us $15 minimum wage. China's going to do that for us any minute now. So, all the things Joe Biden said he was going to do that he had no intention of doing. And also, let's be honest, forgot he said 30 seconds later. So this is huge news. Barely any coverage in the mainstream. There obviously it doesn't mean you can't find a a propagandistic styled New York Times article about this, but it's the difference between our mainstream media and our cable news outlets doing 24/7 Trump's sitting in a room coverage versus one article in the back of New York Times. That's the difference of coverage. So this is a major story, but it makes China sound pretty good, right? Being the good guys, creating peace. And the truth is, if you look at China's record, someone wrote China 2024. China 2024. The truth is, if you look at China's record, and this does not mean everything I say about China is positive. If you go back and watch the hour I just did on it, live stream, you will not see that everything I said is positive. But if you go back and look at China's record on over the past many decades over war, they're not invading countries. They have one military base outside of China, whereas the U.S. has 800 to 900. They're not creating coups. They're not assassinating people in other countries. The U.S. is doing all of those things, all of them. So it doesn't mean you got to like every policy out of China, but right now, this current version of China, way more peaceful than the United States, way more. All right. Leaked documents have come out from the Pentagon and the U.S. and Ukraine internal classified documents. And I was specifically looking for coverage of this not from mainstream media, an article not from mainstream media, because yes, the mainstream media is covering this, but I was hoping to get kind of outside of that. And it's not easy. By the way, if you ever do a search for a story exists, so you already know it's happening, like this, about classified U.S. documents, about WikiLeaks, about Julian Assange, whatever. And you Google, Brave, fucking DuckDuckGo, all of them, all the ones that actually work, all the searches, the first fucking 24 entries are going to be from mainstream media. And this is part of how they've crushed, even if you have the exact headline that you knew came from a non-mainstream media outlet, this is part of how they've crushed independent media, including where I work, Mint Press. Well, I don't work for them for this live stream, but I do some videos for them. It's crushed Mint Press. It's even crushed outlets that do some independent material, and then they also do some kind of the repeating of U.S. propaganda, like Democracy Now!, which Democracy Now! Has a lot of great stories. They also will repeat U.S. propaganda some of the time. But even they have been crushed. Their numbers have been crushed by this type of thing. People Google a topic and not just Google the others, and the first fucking 20 entries are all mainstream media. And you start to think, and by the way, who gets past page 2 of any search engine? I mean, getting to page 2 is quite an accomplishment. Really. I got to page 2 yesterday of a search engine when I looked at something up, and I had those little party blower things. And I blew one of those, and I throw down some confetti. I got to page 2 of a search engine. So 80, I actually saw the number. I was about to make up a number, but it is 80 to 90% of all searches. No one goes past page 1. And then something like 98% don't go past page 2 or 3. So if these search engines put an independent media outlet beyond that, you are fucked. Oh, and I saw DuckDuckGo try and defend this, So DuckDuckGo is supposedly a privacy search engine. Some of you may have used it, and I don't know how much of your privacy they actually protect, but they are connected to the CIA. So I don't think they're really protecting that much of your privacy. But anyway, they are probably still less evil than Google. They clearly don't have the power Google has. But I saw this. So the CEO of DuckDuckGo was online, and someone was saying, "Hey, DuckDuckGo, you claim to be the different search engine. You don't censor results, yet you've removed RT from any results. Like you Google any topic, you will not find RT America, any of it." And his response was, "Go ahead. That's not true at all. Go ahead. Google RT and a news story. You'll find it." And I'm like, and I actually responded, but I was like, dude, CEO of DuckDuckGo doesn't understand how search engines work. You're not supposed to have to Google the outlet that you want to get. You're supposed to Google the topic and see an assortment of outlets and pick from those. Like, yes, sometimes people do Google the outlet, which is a better way to do it. But if you actually want to make fair search results, you don't banish outlets unless someone specifically says, "Give me RT, goddammit." Anyway, for another tangent that I don't have time for. Over 100 classified docs appear online. U.S. secrets from Ukraine to Middle East to China. A more expanded document dump and leak of highly classified materials is being reported in the wake of the initial disclosure that memos related to U.S. strategy in the Ukraine the Ukraine war appeared online, including material marked top secret. This time the leak appears more expansive. By the way, Zelensky is desperately trying to claim these leaks are fake when they're clearly not. You don't get, you don't have, sorry about that, changed the wrong page. Again and again and again. Damn it. Jesus Christ, where the hell is, all right. You don't have multiple mainstream media outlets covering this if it's not true. Oh, did I actually delete the... Oh, I may have actually closed the fucking... That's what it was. I clicked on the photo. I didn't actually... I thought I did it. No one cares. No one cares, Lee. This time, the leak appears more expansive. A new batch, national security has surfaced on, and this is the other funny thing. It's on social media sites. Like literally, it's showing up. It's showing up on like Discords for Minecraft. Which, whoever the troll is that's releasing this stuff, oh, you're doing it well. You're doing it well. Thank you. It's on like little chats. Hey, by the way, here's highly top secret Pentagon papers. I just wanted to talk about Minecraft. I just wanted to say I blew up a Wiggly. I don't know any words that go with Minecraft, so that was the best I could do. And here I ended up with top class, highly classified Pentagon documents. Alarming the Pentagon and adding turmoil to a situation that seemed to have caught the Biden administration off guard. The scale of the leak, analysts say more than 100 documents. One senior intelligence official was quoted in the report as saying it's a nightmare for the Five Eyes. The Five Eyes is the intelligence sharing nations of US, UK, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand, which are really the Five Eyes of empire around the world, trying to make sure we all die of environmental collapse. That's their longer title. Most people just use the Five Eyes portion of the title, but if you read the whole thing, it's that thing about environmental collapse. The New York Times notes that one intelligence slide, which is circulating, features an alarming assessment of Ukraine's faltering air defense capabilities. The report. You mean Russia might win this thing? That's funny. I really thought the small nation that the U.S. has propped up with $100 billion and 70% of the arms are not ending up on the front lines. They're actually getting sold on the black market. I thought they were the ones that were going to really pull this out against one of the largest militaries in the world. The report quotes one analyst who warns this is likely the tip of the iceberg. A former iceberg. What the hell's an iceberg? See, I was trying to make the term iceberg not Jewish. But no, it's not an iceberg. It's an iceberg. It is Jewish. I'm Jewish by birth. I can make jokes like that. Nobody even laughed at that. You're only allowed to laugh at that if you're Jewish. A former senior Pentagon official, Mike Mulroy. I don't know why only you could laugh at that. Anyway, a former senior Pentagon official, Mike Mulroy, was also quoted as saying this could possibly hinder Ukrainian military planning, given that many of these were pictures of documents. And thus it appears that it was a deliberate leak done by, and this is key, someone that wished to harm someone who, sorry to correct your grammar, fucking Mike Mulroy, someone who wished to damage the Ukraine, U.S., and NATO efforts, meaning it is someone internally in Ukraine, U.S., or NATO highly classified discussions. And some of those tweeting about this asked a fair question, which is this reprisal? Is this a response by someone in those allies who wants to get back at the United States for, blowing up their oil pipeline? That was an oil pipeline from Russia to Germany that also would have ended up probably getting gas to a lot of Europe. So maybe some of them were not so happy with the U.S. committing massive terrorism on their pipelines. Okay, I want to move on to MSNBC trying to attack the journalist who has revealed a lot of the Twitter files revelations. And you have heard, by the way, after this story, I will be going to just rumble.com/Lee Camp. That's rumble.com/Lee Camp and locals, actually. So now it's two sites. My local site, which is leecamp.net. You can see it right there on the screen, or rumble.com/Lee Camp. Those are the two places this live stream will continue after this story, but I will keep going through with this story. So you guys know about the Twitter files. I've covered it a bunch. There's been a lot of revelations. Yes, it's because Elon Musk took over. He then allowed all these documents to come out. I think Elon Musk is a parasitic, vampiric, soulless, sociopath billionaire, as are all billionaires, in line with all the others, Gates, Warren Buffett, fucking Soros, doesn't matter, all of them. However, as with Donald Trump, every once in a while he does something where it's kind of funny because he's trying to go at the other billionaires he doesn't like. And so he revealed these things, and all told, now I've gone through the details of the revelations, but the biggest revelations, I say, there's probably two of the biggest revelations. One, Russiagate bullshit, but you knew that even before those revelations. Internally in Twitter, they were debating how Russiagate is bullshit, and should they call the mainstream media and the government out on this bullshit because the Russian bots weren't actually real internally in Twitter. That was one of them. The other one is that Twitter is functioning, at least until recently maybe, but was functioning as an arm of the intelligence community. They would contact Twitter and get anything banned, shadow banned, taken down that they wanted. They would often send thousands of pages to be suppressed, shadow banned, deleted, whatever, on a weekly basis. This was coming from intelligence agencies. It was coming from both Biden officials and Trump officials. Now, Twitter was more responsive, perhaps, to the Biden officials than the Trump officials. However, they were at times responsive to the Trump White House as well. And so that's what you need to know. And it's going on with all of our main social media, but we only have the revelations from Twitter this time. So Matt Taibbi, one of the main journalists who has revealed this stuff, and Matt Taibbi also writes some excellent books that I am a big fan of. He was on MSNBC, which they essentially never have him on. And
your own words, Matt, you crossed.
Hold on. They had him on. They almost never have him on. And they did everything they could to attack him. And hilariously, because I know I just quoted The Intercept, this is Mehdi Hassan, who is came from The Intercept, spent a long time at The Intercept, but was basically using The Intercept as a fucking tryout for MSNBC, doing all of the Empire's bidding. And sure enough, he parlayed that into a job at MSNBC. And like I said, they have refused to have these journalists that have revealed the Twitter files on MSNBC because it goes against the Empire. It goes against all of it. And for the most part, not really on Fox News either. Now, I don't know if one of them, I'm sure one of them's probably been on Tucker Carlson, but for the most part, Fox News isn't covering a lot of this. To some degree, they are, because it looks worse for those who supported Russiagate than for others. But anyway, here he is on MSNBC, and he does everything he can to attack Matt Taibbi, but Taibbi beautifully throws it back in his face.
Your own words, Matt. You crossed that line, and Musk has you. Those are your words.
The hilarity of this coming from MSNBC, which did nothing but vomit up fake Russiagate stories that came straight from the FBI for 6 consecutive years that you guys still haven't apologized for.
Great. I wasn't there in that period, so I've got nothing to apologize. I'm asking you your words. Your own.
I'm gonna play that again because I kept toggling the visuals. But hilariously, watch his defense. His defense is, I wasn't at MSNBC during that stuff, so I have nothing to apologize for. Well, first of all, he has continued. Mehdi Hasan has continued to defend this bullshit from has continued to defend this has continued to defend Russiagate even since he's gotten to MSNBC. But on top of that, he was a Russiagator for the most part at Intercept. So yeah, he does. He's got a shit ton to apologize for. And even if he wasn't spending much time on Russiagate, he wasn't calling it out, which anybody with half a brain cell knew it was bullshit. So yeah, he's got plenty to apologize for, but instead he tries to use that as defense. Anyway, I'll play it one more time.
Own words, Matt. You crossed that line, and Musk has you. Those are your words.
The hilarity of this coming from MSNBC, which did nothing but vomit up fake Russiagate stories that came straight from the FBI for 6 consecutive years that you guys still haven't apologized for.
Great. I wasn't there in that period, so I've got nothing to apologize. I'm asking you your words.
So Matt Taibbi fucking eviscerates him, which is beautiful to see. And also the fact that they would only have him on to try and discredit him. They are so opposed to the revelations that came about, to telling people the truth about the revelations that came out about Twitter, that they only had Matt Taibbi on to try and delegitimize him. And then here is, well, Aaron Monte just repeated what's in the video, but he says, after parroting Russiagate disinformation and barring dissenting voices for 6+ years, MSNBC finally allows on Matt Taibbi just to try and delegitimize him. But also, AOC decided to pipe up into this. So apparently in that segment, I haven't seen the full segment with Matt Taibbi, but apparently in that segment, Hasan found 2 tiny, flaws in Taibbi's reporting. He got something rather small wrong, like a date. And Hasan then says, oh, well, clearly, so these are mistakes. So clearly this is, basically trying to say it's all wrong. And Matt's like, no, it's like a date. Like, it doesn't mean all the reporting's wrong. So AOC jumps in and tries to agree that this delegitimizes everything that was revealed in the Twitter files. I mean, it's just unbelievable. This also implicates House Republicans as well, who launched an entire oversight hearing, an investigation based on these errors. No, based on this truth. Did GOP oversight not fact check or double verify any of these claims or read the reports cited before wasting tons of public time and dollars on it? They didn't waste tons of public time. And here's the thing. I hate the Republicans as much as anyone. They are bought out, pathetic pieces of shit, just like the Democrats are. But this actually is a legit, that panel was a legit revelation about Twitter and how it works and how it is an arm of intelligence agencies, etc. And one of the reasons I, among many, have been shadow banned at Twitter for years and years. And here is AOC acting like this proves anything, and they wasted all their time, and it's just unbelievable. And it shows what she stands for as well, not just what MSNBC stands for. All right, let's move into shit. I have so much I want to squeeze in here. All right. Oh yeah, I forgot. So it's going to continue at just rumble.com/LeeCamp. It's free to watch over there. Also at LeeCamp.net. Rumble.com/LeeCamp and LeeCamp.net. It is free to watch at rumble.com/LeeCamp, and we will continue there right now. I hope you will become a member. If you become a member at LeeCamp.net, subscribing member, you will get my new ebook for free when it comes out. It is called Dangerous